now. What's up, guys? It's Epic Tales back in the building, and today we're gonna have a conversation that I've been waiting to have for the longest time. We're gonna be discussing Dragon Ball Chair by Tad Williams. Today, I have Alicia and Sophie with me. We did a read along on my Discord channel, and yeah, like I've just been itching to talk about because while these guys were still figuring book one, I've read book one, book two, and book three. I was so good.
Show off.
I know he went through them so fast. I was like, slow down.
I kept dropping these cryptic, deducted. How do you show me how you do that? Deducted hints, spoilers.
Yes. I just had like things I had to talk about, like I had to just let out, but like I couldn't talk about. So I have spoilers up until book three there, so you guys should open those.
Yeah.
But
We're happy to relieve you just in a little, just 1/3 of the way.
yes.
Yes.
So I will let you guys introduce yourself, talk about yourselves, your channel, and just like your first impressions of the book. Alicia.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alicia from Birdie in the Books. You can call me Birdie. Everybody does. My channel is mainly live discussions. Epic has been a part of a couple of them. Live discussions, author interviews, and a little bit of everything because I read a little bit of everything. And I have not read this type of fantasy in so long that I just loved every single word. Like, loved it. Hot take. This might get me canceled in the fantasy world. I like this better than Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
Yeah.
That's a hot
I
take.
love Lord of the Rings, don't get me wrong, but this, I don't know why. I just had such a cozy vibe with this book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, some people are gonna be coming at you, so this will be interesting to watch.
People are unsubscribing as I speak.
I hope not. Okay, my turn.
Yeah, your turn.
Go ahead.
Okay, great. My name is Sochi Azu. I have a small corner on BookTube where I talk about books. I too read a bit of everything. But recently, I have kind of focused my interests or curiosities to fantasy and science fiction, more fantasy than science fiction, actually. And I was really glad to. I think it was, yeah. I had just bought all the books in this series when Epic came at us with, guys, let's do a body read, and like, oh, hell yeah. And it's been a thrill. It's been a long ride. I had started Mist of Avalon. Mist of Avalon is an Arthurian series, and quite chunky. But
Huge.
yeah, and that's just one part.
Yep.
So when Epic came up with the body read for Tad Williams, I was like, you know what? If I can finish Mist of Avalon, I can do Dragon Bone Chair, and here we are. I am not making any bold statements here right now. Not because I'm scared of you, Alicia. Not because I'm scared of you, Epic. But I think in due course, we'll make our statements known and why. Well, I'm really happy to be here and have this conversation. Thanks for having us, Epic.
Of course, I'm happy that you guys could be here, and like I've been looking forward to this so much. Sochi, like just like a little bit more on like your reading taste and everything. What do you find different about fantasy in comparison to everything else that you read?
Oh wow. I think this is me coming full circle in a way. As a person, as a person who is curious, and okay. So what do I before I go too deep? What I mean by this, I've over time, over my year, throughout my life, I've read a lot of things, but I think fantasy comes close to my true character or my true personality. We just kind of align in terms of how we see and I'm saying we as readers and as storytellers or writers, how we see the world, which is, in metaphors, symbolisms, lessons, and I think people who write fantasy, or who have deep insights into this genre, are kind of people who think that there is a trove of lessons, insights, philosophies that really speak to the reality that we are living in. And that's so every time I pick up a piece of fantasy book or work, it's always like looking into myself. So I do enjoy science fiction with the thrills, with the curiosities, in the most times very intellectual exercises that they put us to. But when it comes to fantasy, it's I think in a lot of ways it's very introspective.
Yes.
And I think I love it for that. And I think it's going to be a long time before I skip that to go into anything else. I don't think that was going to happen.
Yes, I'm happy to experience this journey with you. You said something very important there about like how fantasy is like a very fertile genre when it comes to, talking about philosophy and symbolism and everything. And I just like how, because it's in a fantasy world, you can explore anything, and it's not like it's not outside the bounds of what would work for the story, like because it's fantasy anyway. So you can address any idea, and it's palatable enough for a reader to enjoy. Now, focusing back on Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, what do you guys think about the world building of Osten Ard, of like just like how everything was set up, and like the lore, and how everything like was designed to work, like the world building?
I really like the caste system, because you can obviously tell from the beginning of the book that Simon was lower on the caste system than most, and he was kind of more of an orphan. You could definitely see the inspiration from Lord of the Rings, just in how it's like poetically written and everything like that. But it's so different from Lord of the Rings because I feel like there's more. What's the right way to put it? Even though it's not fast paced, I feel like it was faster to read than when I read Lord of the Rings.
Yes, yes. I like so Tad Williams was huge fan of Lord of the Rings, and this was kind of his darker version of making it like more grounded. A lot of grimdark, a lot of dark fantasy, like pay homage to Tad Williams for writing the book. So it's like, and for me, what was really remarkable for me was drawing like parallels with A Song of Ice and Fire.
Totally.
Like it's so uncanny. It's the same feeling, but I feel like I kind of prefer Tad Williams' prose a little bit more, because
Me too.
it's a little bit chunky, like it's the word, the poetry is a little bit interesting, like it's deep, but then at the same time it's also very accessible. It's not like extraneous. It feels very masterful when you're reading it, how he describes stuff, and the way he uses that prose to describe the world and set up
Yeah.
everything was so good. Like, I could tell from the first couple chapters that I was about to embark on an epic journey. So when you look at like how he talks about the lore, and how what's the name of the wizard, Simon's master?
It starts with an M.
Morgans.
Yeah, that's
Morghanis,
it.
yeah. How Morghanis was, talking about the history. Like, and there are some stuff that I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but they talk.
Wait. You mean we're not spoiling it? We're not spoiling it?
No, I'm not going to spoil book 2 and book 3 for you.
No.
Like,
No. I mean, is this going to be a spoiler free? Maybe that's what for housekeeping rules. You probably should have started with that.
No, it's a spoiler filled conversation.
Okay,
But
okay,
Yeah.
all right, great.
We can go spoil, like we can
Thanks
go
for the
ham.
warning.
there's just like so much setup, and a lot of the places that are described, throughout the book, especially when Simon started reading like the journal, the stuff that Morgades gave him to read.
Book of the Elders.
Yes.
Yeah.
League of.
What's this?
No, keep going. Don't worry. I got you. It's not cheating, is it?
He basically set up everything so well, and it was really, really, really well done. Do you have like any overarching ideas, like any overarching opinions about like the world building you'd like to talk about?
I love this is further. I'm sorry, you can go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
This is further into the book, but I loved. I don't know if I'm gonna say his name correctly, but Benabik. He's like my favorite.
For short. Benabik for short.
Yes.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
Yeah. Like Benabik was I would say probably my favorite as well. Like throughout, even I'd say the 3 books. He was just like Simon is a very interesting character. Like his character development felt like so slow. Like, so slow. But when Simon comes to his own, it's pretty rewarding. However, I would say that I feel like the book focused a lot more on developing Simon's maturity and Simon's perspective, less on his competence as a protagonist, but more on his
development,
his psychological development into becoming the type of person that he admired in the stories when it comes to the knights that Morgades spoke to him about. And you remember how Morgades, he told Morgades he wanted to join the guard to learn how to sword fight, and Morgades was like, nah, you should focus on your books and everything. All of that comes full circle. But I feel like it's something that was very interesting, that the focus was more on his maturity and less on his physical and skill, his competence in terms of skill as well.
I think for me, in terms of world building, what Ard does is it takes his time, to really build out that world. And one of the reasons why that world is so colorful, so vibrant, so palpable is that he takes time to. This is not just based. I mean, and in some ways, I think, based off of the map that the book starts off with, because I had to go back to the map sometimes and see.
Me too. And I never usually do.
And the reason why, and I do remember someone said in an interview. I can't remember one of these fantasy writers once said that there is no fantasy book complete without a map, and there's a reason. And I now strongly agree with that. There's a reason for this. Because I found that the story itself, the arc as it develops, it ties very strongly, has a strong tie to the geography, to the progression of a character from one place to another, because a lot is happening in consideration of where he needs to get to, and every other point between or even around his destination or his origin. And that was very important. Now, why I'm making reference to the map is because while Ard was building out the world, he tells us a story. He tells a story at every point, for every destination. And one of the beauties of Ard's work here is how he paces himself, how he paces that storytelling for each place, so that you don't feel like you're overwhelmed at any point in time. He doesn't feel under pressure to, oh man, I got all these ideas, I got a point, I gotta tell you all about. He's taking his time, because for him, in his very masterful plot or a mapping of the story and the trajectory. He knows at every point in time, every story is important to be told and by whom. And that one of the beauties of Binabik, I would almost contend that that Binabik is more interesting than Simon. It's almost
100%.
Because guess what? Guess what? This guy has his own backstory.
Yeah.
He has his own backstory. So even the enemies and allies that we meet that may know him, they have different stories to tell about the guy. To some, he is an ally. To others, he's a criminal. To others, he's a troll, a monster. So there is always Simon is even more. How do you say it? In a larger part of the book would be. Tell me when just tell me if I'm good. If I'm treading in a dangerous terrain in terms of spoiling the story. So Simon is more not literal. He's flat, a great extent, and a great part of this first book. But Binabik has highs and lows, and I think one of the beauties of Binabik was that we didn't know exactly whether to trust him at some point. We didn't know he had he had even more backstory. He had more of Simon's backstory and more backstory. He had everybody's story. That's one of the very interesting things about Binabik. He had everybody, even Simon, that we thought we knew everything about. And we so much so that we can't trust Simon or the only thing we had to trust Simon with was the visions he was having, the responsibility that he bore, to see this whole mission through. But Binabik, my man, knows why every step that they were taking was important, and he knew the terrain, right? I'll stop there. Short answer: love the world building, well paced, very richly textured, very colorful. The poetry, lovely. Yeah, even better than. Okay, won't get there. I promise no statements. So I'll keep my promise to Alicia. No
statements. Let's make statements.
Yeah, we can make statements.
Let's make statements. I
also really like that Simon felt like a little kid.
Yeah.
There's so many times that the main character he's made out to be like 6 or 10, but he sounds like a 40-year-old, and I'm like, that doesn't happen. He actually sounds like a 10-year-old in the book.
Hello.
And
hi, Brent.
Hey, Brent. He's how tall. He's tall, right?
Yeah, really tall. Really
tall. Just a few steps and someone that I don't know how tall Alicia is would have to take 10 steps to catch up with one step of his.
You made such a really interesting point here, how he fleshed out every aspect of the map, and then he did something very important by building the world by layering stories within stories within stories within stories within stories. And this is something a lot of people have been. There was a live stream I watched on Tori's channel that was talking about what makes fantasy epic, and it's fantasy that feels that deep, like this. It feels too deep for you to know everything. It's like there's a history behind the world and each character that just enough about, but you just know the tip of the iceberg. So it feels grand, and there are several stories within the stories that can go in any trajectory that that it could go in. But of course that part remains a mystery. And Benedict was a character that was so layered. Like we at the beginning, when we couldn't trust him very well, we knew he knew a little bit more than he was letting on.
Yeah.
But he was also playing a role where he was mentoring Simon and teaching him, like preparing him for like what was to come. He played like the Gandalf kind of role of mentor, teacher, and basically like a major force in driving the plot forward. Alicia, you're going to say something?
I also like that he didn't treat Simon like he was a little kid. Like he he acknowledged that he was, but like he acknowledged that he's in a difficult situation. So like, I understand you're young, but we have to do this, 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 and this.
Yeah. 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 Like he was the perfect person for someone like Simon. And there was something, there was some patterns I was noticing in the book I didn't necessarily like, because a lot of the exposition, a lot of the answers, a lot of the way it was set up was, Simon being a mooncalf, asking questions and being a big answering, but then that was also a device to
Yeah.
inform us, the reader, about what was going on and everything. And, I didn't like it because sometimes it felt like it was happening too much. It was like one device he was using too much, but at the same time, it aligned very well with the kind of person that Simon was, because even it was one of the reasons that Morghenis liked him so much, because he was so curious and he asked questions. So it took me a while to get used to it. And of course, when you look back, when you look at the book in hindsight, you realize that it was important for the information to be delivered that way, because it is a lot, and it helped to make me as a reader not feel like the book was so clunky, because there was so much happening. And I would say you don't really exactly know what's happening until book 3. I'm gonna
Yeah, I have so many questions still.
Don't start, man. Don't start.
I know. I'm just excited for you guys to get there, but
I know you're
the journey is
too
worth it.
excited. Calm down.
It's worth it.
But it's interesting you mentioned that, because that was very, it was, I would say, glaring, and I don't know how soon you got over that, but I think I quickly got a hang of it from the time Morgan took Simon under his wing, because you know how we say it's not really the most competent person
Yes.
that's necessarily the chosen one.
Yes.
They're not necessarily, because there is, so from the point where in the story progression that it was established that Simon was an idiot, or maybe a mooncalf, if there's a distinction. He doesn't have a neural disability. He's just overly curious, and too curious that the world has no bucket to put him in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have a way to assess his kind of idiocy, So
I think he was just autistic.
Yeah, he might have been, exactly. So yeah, it's a good point. Good point to bring up. Did he have?
That would make so much sense.
Is he on a spectrum? He
could be.
Yeah.
He has to be on the spectrum, because.
So
yeah, go ahead. Like, forgive me for.
So because it felt like if he really did have a challenge, right? But in the way that his actions were, the rationale, behind his actions, they really sounded, they were very innocent, like a baby, like a baby's, type of innocence. And Morgan was insightful enough or perceptive enough to know there's something special about you, about your innocence. And if you're curious enough to know about this, or to ask this and this, not just that, but what drives curiosity is there's something here. There's something here. And I'm thinking, my theory is that Morgan's, if he had, how magicians or sorcerers, they have this calling to actually pick out a chosen one, and they need a system to know who the chosen one is. I would speculate that the not red flag, but the flag for Morgan was that you see something that nobody else can see, and it's not given to everybody to see it except for this one person. And if I can see that you see that, regardless of your your bungling ways, you've got to be the person, and I will be patient with you to actually mature and then do the thing that you are brought to this earth or whatever universe that maybe have been called to do. And I think that was the beauty of it. And I found that at that point that if Simon is not really overly competent or the right the stereotypical right person, then there must be something. So I too said, okay, I gotta be patient with Simon. I know he always asks a lot of whys. Because when Benabek says, you have a lot of whys. There's a tone this accent Benabek has broken English that says you ask a lot of whys, and I think he knew too that you have to be patient with this person who is onto something bigger than onto a purpose that is bigger than any one person, any one character in the book, as it were.
Yeah. Alicia, you're going to say something?
Going off of what you said, I like that the wizard character saw the potential in somebody that everybody else wrote off as just annoying, a pain in the butt. Just get him out of my hair. And you see the potential, like he's not perfect, but you still see he's going to be something, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Like, and something that, so first of all, I truly believe like Simon is on the spectrum. I had to be patient with him. Who I am today as an adult, I couldn't connect with him. But the more I read Simon, the child inside me as well could connect with that. Because I remember asking when I was a kid, just like wide-eyed, asking like questions that were so deep that only an adult would have understood why it was deep. But at the time, I was just curious about. And sometimes there were questions that Simon asked that, if I was able to abstract the question from the book and just ask generally in reality, it's like a question I know I would have asked it like during my innocent years, just trying to figure out why life was the way it was. So and then Benedict being patient to answer the questions and not necessarily give it outright, but you give it to him outright, but break it down and explain like variables that make the you could give you perspective on the possible answers to the questions was very, very interesting. And definitely I feel like Simon is on the spectrum because he wasn't intellectually there, but he was like emotionally and like his attention when emotionally he was there. So it was a very change of pace for me in terms of how it's
how to write how to
enjoy a protagonist, because usually when you're reading a book you want to connect with the protagonist, but it was a change of pace, and it annoyed me at the start, but then I kind of got into it, and I was like, okay, so this is the theme of the story.
I have a question for you guys. How do you think that an answer given to a question at the wrong time is more dangerous than answering a question? It's more dangerous than not answering. No, I think it's a very straightforward question. Do you think that not answering a question at the wrong time is dangerous?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
I agree.
Sometimes you might not be mature enough to understand the answer, and
But what's the risk in that? I mean, if you are giving information that you don't need, how can that be dangerous if you're going to just forget it because you're not going to use it, right? Or will you use it and not use it well?
So when the information is given to you at the wrong time, I feel like you might not have enough variables to understand the answer, and there's a danger in that. Now, the good thing about that is that you might start experimenting in a way that reveals the answer to you, but to reveal the answer where the answer remains the same, but your understanding of the answer is much deeper than like the face value you might have gotten at the time you received it. Does that make sense?
And
It
you
does.
might not be able to fully understand at a certain age the
Yes.
actual
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. There are
Like-
questions that your kid will ask you, like, okay, that's a very smart question too, but I can't give you the answer. Like, I need you to grow up a little bit more. You know what I mean?
And I love the questions when, like, I have younger siblings and they ask me questions. I'm like, I know the answer, but how will I answer that in a way that a 6 to 5 year old, a 4-year-old would understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The reason I ask is because we found Simon asking questions that were not given to him instantly,
Yeah.
but rather he was sent on errands to reveal the answers.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
he didn't get the answers immediately, and you may have to refresh my memory what exactly his response was at that point. But I know he wasn't really frustrated. And this was one of the hallmarks of his character, which was that he was loyal, he was trusting. He trusted that he trusted the people who sent him on those errands enough to believe that he would get the answers, or that he would find the answers along the way. And that was one of the beauties of that I found about Simon. He wasn't intelligent. That was not his strong suit. He just knew it. We're not relying on him to be smartest guy. He figured it out.
He was more empathetic.
Yeah. And so, like, in terms of, I had a very deep question to ask. When I remember, I'll bring it up again.
No worries.
But could you draw parallels between like the Norns, the Sethi, and the Sethi come up? Yes, the Sethi and like elves.
Quick answer, yes. Before you finish, yes. But continue.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I like Tad Williams' interpretation of that trope. Like the Sethi were so interesting, and I like how everything tied up like towards the ending of the book when they all met again, and Simon understood the significance of the arrow and everything like that. Then it was like, okay, so that is what this relationship is going to be based on between Simon and the prince. I forget his name.
Yeah.
Joshua.
So,
Joshua?
No, not Joshua.
Elias.
Prince, the Sethi prince. The
yeah. It's in the back.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, he said n. Is it n? Hold on. And this is not cheating. It's right here.
Yeah, no. These books are so big.
In a Luki.
In a Luki was.
This is Storm King or.
In a Luki was.
There's another one. There's another prince. Yes.
In a Luki was the Storm King, no. Right.
In a Luki is the Storm King.
Oops.
Then there is, hold on now. In Luki, then there is not Jiriki. Jiriki?
Jiriki.
Yeah, Jiriki.
Yeah, Jiriki.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was like I really, really enjoyed that relationship. And like at the end when Simon
don't do that. Hey, didn't we say
no spoiling? I'm talking about book one.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say spoiling, it's so this sounds like you're cheating, right? But when you say no spoilers, no spoilers for book 2 and book 3.
Yeah. I know exactly.
So we can spoil book 1.
We can spoil book 1 as much as we want.
All right, no, I got you.
We're half an hour in, so if people are still sticking around, you've read it.
Yeah.
Good.
That's
awesome.
how I go.
Awesome. Yes. Carry on.
Like,
tell me about the badass reveal.
When he got Thorn at the end and he I am CEO, man. Oh my god.
That was a swoon moment.
Like, this is the moment I've been waiting for the whole book. Like,
that was epic.
So epic. Yeah, I remember my question. I remember my question. So, and this was the same thing with like these are two very different books, but the thing with Harry Potter and Simon is that they are both very flat characters,
Yeah.
right? And I was like there's this writing device where the writer intentionally makes the character flat because they want the reader to project themselves in the character. They want the reader to interpret the character to match so that they can identify with the character. Like how what do you think of that writing advice and how did it work for you for Simon's character in the book?
Is there an antithesis? Is there an opposite to this in sense that it's where a writer would maybe not make the character flat?
So I don't know if you've
That's a
I
good
don't know what
question.
books we've read in common. But what book is pretty popular?
Popular. Ooh.
That we've all read. But it's
Have you
like
have you read Patrick Rothfuss's Name of the Wind?
Name of the Wind. Okay.
Yes.
What's the name of the main character again? Damn
Oh,
it.
what's his name? Oh my God. I know he's got red hair.
So annoying.
Oh man. Kavoth. I think that's how you say it. I could be saying it wrong.
I think it's Koth. It's pronounced like
Okay.
Tob.
Yeah. So
Both are cool.
he is very, very like defined as a character. So he's very intelligent. He's very outspoken. His character is not like there aren't people like that. Like there are people like that, but like
Not so
the
many.
whole character, you're not projecting. Like you know exactly. He's arrogant. He's he's he has his own
Full of
character.
himself.
Yes,
He's
yes,
very full of himself.
very full of himself. You know, he's very defined as a character, as opposed to like Simon, who is just like you don't know what's going on in his head. You only know from like when he talks and his personality. The one thing about his personality he had that was going for him was his bravery. But his bravery and his loyalty and like some of the important things for a protagonist to have. But in general, his character was very, very flat.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I think you're right because when you think of it, in a lot of ways, right? And I'll begin to watch out for these similarities. In a lot of ways, Harry Potter wasn't. First of all, Harry Potter wasn't the most intelligent.
Yes.
He was just pretty much just there, right?
Yeah.
He was just a 12-year-old.
Yeah, he was just regular. He
Yeah.
wanted birthdays. He was just regular, right? But he somehow, not somehow, but I mean, we do know how. But he was regardless. Regardless, he was the chosen one. He was the one that was most feared. He was one that most revered. Um, I think in a lot of ways, he was kind of similar to Simon.
Yeah.
He wasn't the smartest. Hermione was, had the highest IQ amongst the three of them. Among the three of them, the trio, or even all the kids. But somehow she wasn't really the star of the story.
Yeah.
I think in the same way, Simon also qualifies as someone who he's not brilliant, he's not charismatic, he's not a fighter, he's not skilled in fighting. He was just bungling his way through different scenarios with the help of friends who he is able to attract or to enlist on his mission because of that single quality of his character that nobody else seemed to have or could, the writer did not replicate. So I think that's a good. It does work for some books or some stories, but I think the critical thing is not just that the writer is making the protagonist flat, but really the strength of his story is not about whether the protagonist was flat, but rather that the story itself is not full of flat characters.
Yes, yes. A lot of the characters surrounding Simon they were more interesting than
More
him.
Yeah,
interesting.
like Benedict, the little girl that they find in the woods.
Yes,
Can't remember her name right now.
Yeah.
Joshua,
Yeah.
like Jiriki, it's
Then
like
the princess.
the princess. Yes,
The princess was. I love that prince. Oh my god, what's her name now? What's her name? What's her name? Ma something.
Mariamel. Yeah,
She just lovely. I love her. I could see her as, Simon was enamored by her, and I could feel the heat. I was like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I got
hey,
Robin
I
Hood,
don't
but
like how you're smiling, Epic. You know something.
So much happens.
Yes, I know. Don't do
he's the way
that.
he's smiling. He's trying not to tell us. I can tell.
Something happened. So I'm just like smiling because I can't wait for you guys to see what you guys think about it. But she was quite interesting. She was quite an interesting character, and you can clearly see the parallels between her and Arya Stark. Like
Yeah.
so clear,
Yes.
so
Yes.
clear, so clear. Like it's I found it so interesting. I found out recently that so George R. R. Martin like says it very clearly, like Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn inspired like the Song of Ice and Fire. So
Yeah, it says on my book, it says one of my favorite fantasy series, George R. R. Martin.
yeah, so it's just like they write Tad Williams wrote a book in the Osten Ard world, like, and that book was his response to Game of Thrones. And George R. R. Martin wrote a book, right, that was a response to that response, but they were not speaking directly. They were just
I
like,
love it.
see what you did there. This is my interpretation of this, or you see what you did there. This is my interpretation of, and I find it like I want to be a writer like that one day that has a relationship with another writer where we're just communicating, not directly, but through
Yeah.
our work.
Like there's no beef, but there's like communication in writing, which I love.
Yes, 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 yes. I thought that was pretty cool. But just like the idea, like this, the stature of what the dragon bone chair represented, I can see how the Iron Throne is like its own thing. It's different and it's its own thing. But that idea of like something that is so symbolic to the throne and the ruler of the kingdom, like being like that, like kind of iconic symbolism. Like the parallels, there are so many parallels I can draw. And then the Norns and the White Walkers, like
I wrote it in my book. I was like, was this White Walkers before White Walkers?
You can see how the White Walkers were from the North. And trust me, and I'm just like, wow, like this. He must have been reading the Dragon Ball chair while he was writing.
They were, and even elements of ice, the elements of fire, they were stuck in the pun intended again. They were stuck in the story. They really stuck out.
Yes, and but anyway, this is not. I don't want to go into Game of Thrones right now. I don't want to mention too many.
It's so easy to do, though. It's very parallel.
It's so easy.
It's forgivable. Don't worry, it's forgivable.
Yeah. And it's like just like brilliant storytelling. So I enjoyed the story a lot, right? But I found to myself that I enjoyed the writing more than the story. Did you have that experience as well?
Yes.
Like I couldn't stop reading because the writing was so delicious. But I enjoyed the story, but I enjoyed the writing a lot more.
I don't know if it's the same in your both physical copies, but when it's a different character, it's written differently. Like the typeface
is a bit, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you could tell, like even if you weren't listening to the audiobook, you could tell when Benedict was speaking. You could tell when Simon was speaking.
Yes.
You could tell when he was writing a letter to the princess and all that, because of just the typeface, which I really enjoy. I love when authors do that.
Yeah, I love when authors do that, like because it's like it's a different mind that is experiencing the world that we are reading. So like when he changes the prose, it just clicks. So those are like some subtle things that Wow, another writer that does it, not half as good, but another writer that does it very well is Job Recovery. Like I don't know if you guys have read the first law,
I
but
read the first one at least. Yeah.
I'm looking at the blade itself. I haven't started it, but I'm looking at it right now.
that is
Yeah,
like intro into Grimdark.
nice,
Like that's
nice.
the perfect introduction into Grimdark. So I recommend it to you. You know, like yeah, it's a great book, and that one is different because they do a lot of like internal dialogue, so you know everything that the characters are experiencing, and it's a change of pace. Like I recommend that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll get to it this year after I'm done with the four books by Tad.
I already have enough book listed to like read the whole of this year. Like this year already, I've read like 25 books.
Oh my god.
I'm
I,
at 32 for the year.
Oh my god. Oh my
oh
god.
my god, that's
I'm
great.
at I'm at 20. Hold on, let me check my challenge this year.
But I
But
also, while I'm reading something as thick as this, I have like mysteries in the middle. Like I kind of go with different pace stuff in between.
Yeah, I think this year I learned that I could read two books at the same time. I
Yeah.
read in the morning.
As long as they're different genres, I'm good.
Yes,
But if
yeah,
it's like two fantasies at the same time, I can't do it.
that's the caveat. Like
that's cool.
I read one in the morning and I read one in the evening, and I
Same.
read one as an audiobook. I read one physical. So it's like it's complete brain switch, you know, and it's
I
like
always have
fair.
an audio on play. Just as in it's also when I get into the car, start that one, get out of the car, I'm brainstorming the office, it's playing, So I get through audiobooks really quick, and then I have two or three, never really two, more like three at a time, open different pages, waiting for me to read at different times in the day. More of them during the weekend, so that I can get through them. But it's surprising. I'm at 19 books so far this year. I don't know if I've marked Dragon Bone Chair marked as read already. I'll check. But I'm by the end of today, I should be at 21.
Yeah, like if you like yeah, like that's at that pace, like you're looking at least 40 books before the end of the year, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
So my target is 52, and
50.
so far it's been working. So it's on average, Goodreads interprets it as me reading one book a week, which is okay.
Yeah.
Have either of you read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell?
No, I haven't.
There were so many parallels between like not the characters themselves because they're bookish people, but like I saw Simon as Jonathan Strange because I read this first. Like he's just so bookish at first, and then he like gains more confidence in what he's doing as a magician.
Interesting.
And I saw that like as Simon. Like I don't know if she was influenced by Tad Williams, but after reading this, there's so many parallels that would make sense.
I will not be surprised. So many people were influenced by Tad Williams. Like so
You
many.
need to read this. It's so good.
I saw a copy at the secondhand bookshop close to the office on sale. So I hope it's
so
still there
good.
by the time I get there on Wednesday.
And if you love audiobooks, the audiobook's fantastic.
Sweet. Who read it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know something?
Let me check. I can look.
So you know something that helped me really enjoy this Dragon Bone Chair, like, and you have to find the perfect narrator to be able to do it with. But if you're reading the book as it's getting narrated in your head, that's like the highest level of immersion. Like that.
I love immersion reading.
It's possible. Like it's like there could be an armed robbery happening behind me in my environment, and I'm just like this. Just listening.
You're in your own head.
You would have to literally shake me to take me out
of attention.
Yes, but
that's deep, man. That's deep.
It's such like it's your because you're involving moral senses, and especially with Tad Williams' prose. So good.
Did you
So
see all the references? I think in the ways that Tad and George Martin were, kind of similar in their treatment of this story idea or premise, how they suggested the relationships between church and state.
yes,
Ooh,
yes, the political and religious, like
Yes.
yes,
the
100%.
battle between the two.
The
Yes.
both, the both of them are masters at like political intrigue. Like it's one of the best aspects of the book, and it's not. It's interesting enough. Like it's it's very important when you're writing a book that you're able to add other elements from other genres into the book. Like I feel like political intrigue like adds that extra layer of drama, and where the world
Tension.
feels, yes, where the world feels like it's organic and relatable in a way that, okay, the problems, the political, social, familial issues that these people are dealing with, religious, these are things that you can draw parallels with, you can abstract from and into your own lives and everything. And there's such a strong, you can tell that the theological understanding of Christianity was a very big influence in how he shaped the religion, and just some things and phrases and the structures that he used were very similar parallels to Christianity.
I watched an interview with him, and it's so interesting because he writes it so well that he's not religious
Hmm.
Yeah,
himself. As a person, he's not religious, and usually, like, people that write it, in my experience, very well are either come from a religious background or are still religious.
I
well,
feel,
well, I would even say, for instance, what's his name now? Dark Materials. Philip
Philip Pullman.
Pullman. Yes, he. Well, so he too writes. He too writes. I would. He's what they call them. Not atheist. He has.
agnostic.
Agnostic.
Yes. So what he does in his books, he's very articulate, right? He's very articulate about on the issues of church and state,
Hmm.
right? But even more so about church authority. So internally, not just church and state, but even inside the church, about or church affairs between we humans and God, and not you having agency over your own life rather than depending on an external. So you have the power on your own without any agency to God or to the heavens.
Hmm.
And he writes that. So I think it's not necessarily a dangerous thing. It's not really about that. Well, for as far as he can create a very convincing story, very credible story, using those elements, that's just wow. And Tad does that very well. Phil as well does that very well. And those ideas that they bring up and they tie their stories around, they are very real.
Hmm.
And they are real, and they are they are considered very important to actually dwell on. So just to understand your place in the world and how to navigate issues or even the world as a whole.
Yeah, there was something that like Dan Brown spoke about on his masterclass on writing, and he was talking about how like if going to have you're going to like talk about like an idea on a religion and you want it to be a big aspect of your book, you can never present it as if it was the way, or you cannot present it as if this is the answer to so and so questions. You have to question it. You
Question.
have to have
Suggestions.
opposition. It's from the opposition of
Right.
of um is from the opposition of two ideas clashing that makes that gives the reader something to enjoy. The conflict of ideology, religion and state, if like the overarching premise is power. And I feel like it helps that I don't know, well, I don't want to say it helps because I've seen people who are religious that do it, but he approached religion, even if it's not religious that I'm learning, with enough respect to write about it honestly. Right? Write about it honestly from the people who believe in it, for the people who don't believe in it, and from people who are from the perspective of people who believe in it, from the perspective of people who used to believe in it, from the perspective of people who look on the outside and they're just like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. So,
but there are so many authors that don't do it respectfully.
Yes, there are authors that I feel like they take on. So maybe I don't know, something happened to them and they blame it on like Christianity or like the church. And when they are writing their books, they speak about it from that perspective, as if this is just what religion or the church is, and that does a disservice. It's not intellectually honest. Because religion is, as an entity, as an institution, has positive and negative aspects to it. In terms,
I would even volunteer that it's insidious. I mean, it's such intentions can actually be insidious, meaning that you don't respect. It's not that you don't respect it. You know enough to thwart the truth just to push an agenda.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, that's insidious. It's one thing to be ignorant. And I'm sure, for many readers like us, we know when you're ignorant, right? But it's like you said, Epic, Alicia, it's not just disrespectful when we know that you are knowledgeable and you're not ignorant, but you're actually intentionally pushing an agenda by using these elements, or using this knowledge that we all share to actually push that. I mean, to do that, in a story, it's it's just wrong.
When it comes to story, like, I love diversity, I love inclusion, I love religion, I love different aspects of things, like as in and of themselves,
because it's more realistic.
Yes, but there's nothing that annoys me more when I'm reading a story and I feel like you're not representing these ideas or these concepts honestly. And I feel like what Tad Williams does in this book is that he represents his ideas, his philosophies, his opinions, and everything so honestly. And that just helps you think, helps you digest the story in a way where after you're done with the story, even if he doesn't tell you this is the way to live and this is what things you shouldn't do, you can take a lot from the story, and you're so engrossed in the story and invested in the story because it's so honest that even after the story has ended, you still have a lot to pull
Unpack.
from. Yeah.
I think another good thing about Tad Williams is he writes beautiful women. Strong women. Beautiful and strong women.
Not damsels in distress. I'm so tired of reading about damsels in distress.
That's all.
Yes.
But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No,
No, you're fine.
Yeah, because even the women who are in some need, like who may be longing for their husbands to come home, very natural.
Yes.
Very, very natural.
Yeah.
It's not the, if you leave me, I'll die.
Yes.
I'd rather if you were by my side, I understand that you have to go do this thing, save the world and all that.
Yes.
And not making women just one-dimensional either. Which
is
exactly
annoying.
So it's like when you look at Miriamel, when you look at what's the name of like Joshua's concubine again?
What's her name? I really liked her.
She kind of reminded me.
Yes.
She kind of reminded me.
I thought she was going to take to arms and join him on the battleground.
But like her, her like Miriamel and as Fingal's wife, right? As Fingal, that was his name.
Yeah.
Like they all very different women. As Fingal's wife is waiting for him to return, and is just like there, just and she, like Tad Williams wrote her so honestly. Like there are women like that exist, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then he wrote a character like Miriamel who is rebellious and wants to like take agency, and she goes out to get stuff done, and that was done well as well. And then Joshua's concubine is like I'm the manipulative person behind the scenes trying to get things done and whispering in this person's ear, and done brilliantly as well. So I feel like he really did a great job in representing women, and not making them feel like accessories in the book,
and not demeaning to
not demeaning
their certain type of intelligence.
Yes. Yes.
They're all very different, but they're all respected in their own way.
Yes, and you could still appreciate them for being like women. Like it's not like you wrote. There was a writer. They asked him, "How do you write women?" And he was like, "He writes a man, and then he just like changes the name and he to her." And I was just like, "Nah, women are."
We're more complex than that.
Oh my god!
No more nuanced than that. He said that.
God.
I rolled my eyes and I just like canceled the interview. I was like, no, I don't need this crap right now.
No, there's that whole thing on Twitter too that like that men that write women badly. A woman bounced boobily down the stairs, and I'm like, I read that in a book, and I'm like, I shut the book, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, this is 2024. Absolutely not, sir.
I can imagine how annoying it is to if I was a woman and I read something like that. I would just be so pissed. Like,
I was raised in a family full of boys. Do I know how to fight if I need to? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
fight scenes.
Sorry?
Fight scenes.
Yeah, the fight scenes were awesome.
Awesome. They were so good. They were so good. Like the scene where they were getting hunted down. Like,
yes.
Oh my god! Like I was
like
really,
when the bullets. Oh, sorry, I said bullets. Sorry.
The
when
arrows.
the arrows were going.
Yeah, I know. I was like right there, and even like when that scene, like there are some times because Simon being the protagonist, I kept wanting him to have his moment, because there were times where I'm like, if Benedict wasn't here, this whole thing would have gone, like, well, I don't even know what would have happened here if
it would have been a short novel.
At that point where they were getting hunted down, like Simon would have been packaged in a box and sent to and Simon just was so passive. But like Simon had his moments when he was saving Miriam Mill and the little girl from the dog from the dog attack, and of course at the end when he actively went after the. I was so like those moments made me so proud of Simon.
It was like this.
Yes. It was like, this is my boy, my son. Yes. I think the first spoiler I dropped, I was like, yes, Simon finally had his moment.
I didn't know what that meant, and I wasn't even so curious. I mean, I wasn't curious to go flipping through pages to the back. I said, yeah, no worries. I'll get a sense later. But when it happened, oh my god, I was in bed, and when I was reading it, when I got to that point, I told my wife, "Do you know?" I shook her. I was like, "It happened."
Yes.
He's coming to himself. Yes. I just was like, "What are you talking about? Who is Simon?" I'm like, "Right here."
I told my boyfriend he has to listen to the audiobook. I'm like, "You'll love this." I'm like,
just read this chapter. just read this chapter. But unfortunately, even if you read that chapter, you won't understand.
You won't understand it.
You won't understand. But I just want somebody to read that chapter with me.
Expert, yes. And that is something, right, that Tad Williams is so good at. He's so good at building up things. He's so good at
that was just
like,
oh my
that
God.
moment I was like, yes, like I can go to bed. I can say that yes, the wait was worth it,
Oh my God. Coming out.
And the littlest thing came back, and it was awesome. I was like, yay, everything makes sense now. Woo!
Yeah. I found it so like interesting how he was able to pick up Thorn, and everybody else found it so heavy.
I like this cover. I haven't seen the other one.
This cover is so boring.
No, that's the Dragon Bone. No, that's book one. This is the one I have for book one.
Wow.
Right?
We're talking about how, the
old school covers are the best.
So, yes, I know. They are cheesy, but they have a special place in my heart because I'm like.
But this cover, this one, to see Simon and the hair.
Yes,
with the new hairdo. Oh my God.
Yes.
I can't wait to start it tonight. I'm so excited.
Well, you're starting book 2 tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I already started, but yeah, I know.
I didn't want to muddle up my thoughts between book 1 and book 2. No, in my brain, I would muddle up everything and then give a spoiler.
No, I'm sure that's not what happened to you. I think you would have caught the epic syndrome. The epic syndrome, where you start dropping cryptic messages. You'd be like, okay, don't open this till you.
We do talk a lot, so that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's there are some books that when I'm reading them, it just comes so natural to just keep reading and reading. Books where I just want to read really, really slow. I can't force myself to read very quickly. And because I was doing immersive reading, I had less moments where I had to go back to understand what I was because when you hear a name and then you also read it at the same time, you remember. So I was just packing, and I could feel the amount of information I was carrying forward with each chapter as I was doing it. So with just because I'm also going to use this book for prose study. There's this thing where you write down word for word maybe I can write chapter 15. Maybe the way he does something in chapter 15 I can just write chapter 15 from start to finish a couple of times, and then I'll start having an understanding of how Tad Williams did what he did. So I'm going to dissect this book as much as possible, and I was already kind of doing that. If you're a writer, you're reading the book, you're trying to see, I like how he how he phrased that, how he put that in the end, not the beginning of the sentence, and that kept me reading until what he's doing and everything. So I just couldn't stop reading, and
that was a technique I learned in college. I have a journalism degree, and they made us do that in college for certain articles.
It during the Renaissance, during the Renaissance, and even in the time of Shakespeare and all of that, that was how writers learned to write.
Yes.
Just follow your passion and write and see. You go and you have 5 writers that you write each from Monday to Friday. On Friday you you literally write their books from start to finish and pick up another one start to finish. And when you've done that enough, then you write your own story. And then at that time, your understanding of word and syntax and all of that is natural and everything. So I'm definitely going to be doing that with the Dragon Ball Child, because as much as I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the writing significantly more.
And he didn't use long sentences. I find that very distracting because I kind of fall off. But he didn't use long sentences, which made the pace much tolerable. So even if it was a slow burn, it was in large sense, it was a slow burn, but it was well paced, and I didn't mind because the sentences were so yummy. I could just keep going. And
Yeah.
the characters were well-rounded. The funny, very, very, very small but very relevant scenarios that he wrote. The chance encounters that may not be so chance or probabilistic as not coincidences at all. The possibility of that alone kept pushing me forward, and I really enjoyed that about those first few chapters that look like where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? When is it going to happen? When is the action going to happen? But he put all those things there as building blocks that really made the payoff really worthwhile, and just added to the high stakes that we're looking so much to seeing how it concludes with.
Yeah. Like there's a lot in this story. There's a lot in this story. And like I would like to ask you, we're already like over an hour in, and I feel like we haven't even really gotten, like we haven't even started. But
We haven't talked about the Doctor himself, the sibling rivalry, which was funny. It's a funny dynamism because they were so good together when they were young, and Joshua himself is even puzzled. He doesn't understand what's happening. I mean, why do people think my brother is going to kill me? He believes so much in the love that he shared with his brother that they've grown up with, but doesn't understand why until if this, I haven't read book 2, I haven't read book 3, and Epic wipe that smile off your face. But I'm
I'm
saying
about the answer to that
I
question.
hope a brother doesn't kill a brother. I hope a brother doesn't kill a brother. But I'm not, So those are a few things I just feel. Yeah, we still haven't talked about. There's so much to try and dissect and appreciate, because there's so much love to share from in this book. It's just wonderful. It's glorious.
I wonder if I should say
Alicia,
something.
we're just talking
I can
about
say
what
something
we
without
haven't even covered.
spoiling, but I can hint at something. But yeah, you know what? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
Don't do that, please. Don't do that.
But that is a very interesting dynamic, the relationship between Joshua and his brother and everything. And like Joshua is a character that also undergoes a lot of character development.
Nice.
And it's something that I'm looking forward to hearing like your thoughts on and everything. So far, right? Do you have any predictions into like do you have any predictions or do you have any projections of
My
what
first,
or
because
like
I've been itching to say this, is
okay.
Go for it.
yes, I've been itching to say this. Simon, I hope falls. I mean, marries the princess. I do hope that happens. That's a lot. That's heavenly. Alicia, I'm sorry. Did I? That wasn't a letdown.
Oh no, you're fine.
I wasn't going to make any political projections. I'm going to start
No,
with what I love.
you're
I
fine.
love that romance, and I hope it blossoms.
And it's written well, which
Thank you.
a lot of fantasies don't write a little bit of romance well at all. It's like take this out of the book, please.
I hope it goes well. I hope neither of them dies. You were going to say, Alicia.
My concern, my feeling and my concern is because Simon is more trusting, that he's going to trust the wrong people because they're going to realize how powerful he actually is, and then it's going to like bite him later.
Okay, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
And I'm suspecting we have we experienced, I think we experienced one betrayal, and I kind of saw that one coming. I kind of saw it coming. I expected it.
You're talking about the Morganis's previous apprentice, right?
Yeah. They're on the battleground. They led one party. One war party was led.
Yeah.
I kind of expected that. Was almost not too obvious, but I kind of expected that. I mean, it was too. If everything had played out, the way they thought it should, or it was going to, it would have been too easy. I just expected some turn of the hand that would And then that betrayal, I was like, okay, fine, that happened. That's okay. But
Yeah.
to Alicia's point, if that's going to hurt me, right? That's going to hurt me. If
Yeah, me too.
if Simon trusts, I mean, I'd hate anybody to break Simon's heart.
Yes, yes, like yes, yes. Yeah, like yeah.
Thank you, Epic.
I can tell by his smile. He's kind
that
and
wasn't cryptic at all. No, thank you.
No,
Thank you.
no. Like, trust me. No, is I'm smiling because I know, I know, like that feeling of Simon makes you feel like you just want to protect him from the world because of how innocent he is. So that overarching feeling, I get it. Um, but and so I understand the sentiment, but then I also know what happens, and I don't like. It's not necessarily that straightforward that because I'm smiling, something happen or anything. But yes, I would say like the book develops in a very, very interesting direction where
Oh man.
everything you're asking is going to be answered, and
Yep.
a lot is going to be revealed. Is there like so in this one the magic is not like overt, like we don't
True.
have somebody
Yeah. Magic
falling down
system.
stones from the sky or and everything. So it's like how did you take that? Was this something about it that you liked, or was this something that you feel like the book could have done with more overt magic?
Yeah, it's just subliminal. The magic was not say subliminal. It was
love.
organic. Yeah, it was low. It's not how they say it. It wasn't not dramatic. So it was consistent with what would normally pass as a real world magic system, which is magic from the earth, or magic embedded in the characters of the monsters, or the characters themselves. I'm sorry, the professions in a sense. So like a magician or a sorcerer or a doctor who can heal, and they did, who can who has sight, and they who has sight, or or who was who had the power to pass on someone else or empower someone else to have sight through some recommended rituals which happened, or the magic that ran in the blood of the city, or
Hmm.
Storm King himself, by virtue of, sorry, and then the magic that he, employed to cause all the grievance between brothers, between siblings, which was understandable, or that rituals that should not have been done and were, and then, had very, unexpected consequences. So those were rather implied in a sense.
Yes,
We
yes.
didn't have people who were doing avatar type,
Avatar type.
the skills and all that. But I appreciated that, and it worked well. It wasn't distracting. It rather enriched the story. I wasn't looking for anything very dramatic to make it a wow. I rather depended on my expectations of human development of human character to
Yeah.
be all the characters to be braver, wiser, to enjoy the story, and I think that worked well for me.
Yeah, like I enjoyed how it was a part of the story, but it was more implied than overt. And I like how and it's not necessarily an element I necessarily enjoy in every book, but I feel like it worked very well for this story.
Yeah, true.
And how for the humans it's like wow, magic, but for the people like the city, they're like, well, we understand why you would see that as magic, but it's not magic really. It was a little bit like their understanding of it was different. So the idea of magic was just a thing of like perspective and skill, not necessarily like
It
magic.
was just handed to you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just It was a way of life for them.
Yes, it was more like a way of life, and it was really really interesting. There's so much that like I'm just like so excited for you guys to experience, because for me
I can't
it
wait.
was it was an emotional up and down for me all the way. Sometimes I thought I hated Simon, other times I'm like, yeah, this is my guy, and then it just kept going up and down and up and down. And
There were a couple times I wanted to throat punch him. I'm like, stop being so stupid.
I know. And it makes
But I understand if I was your age, I would make the same mistake. But it's frustrating to read sometimes.
Sometimes you want Simon to make a certain decision, but like he does like the dumbest thing, and you're just like, oh, Simon.
But you remember he's like a preteen boy, and I'm like, yeah, my brother would have made that mistake as a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's such a great book. It's such a great book. Do you guys have any final thoughts on like the Dragon Ball chair?
this was one of my first 5 stars of the year. Full 5.
One of my best reads of the year.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be on my best reads of the year video that I do at the end of the year.
Same, 100% is going to be there. If not number 1, it's going to be number 2.
It's going to be very close up there.
Yeah,
I read another one that I really really liked. And I don't know, like right now I'm debating. If it comes to
Spear cuts through water.
Yes.
Yep. Those are my 1 and 2. I'm just like, which one?
Which one?
You need to spare cut through water. Like it's
You
so,
have to. It's so
I have
good.
it on my TBR. Yes.
it's
Jimenez?
I-
Is that Jimenez?
yes,
Mhm.
yes. Like I feel like I would say Dragon Ball Chair number 1, but spare cuts through water is so good. The prose is so good on that one as well.
Oh my God.
But
But
it's not as refined. The Dragon Ball Chair reads very crisp. Like it feels very crisp, very masterful. Like there's no sentence that was one word longer than it should have been. The words were like the spare cuts through water is more experimental, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and I mean that in a very positive way.
We have to. Did you want to read Vanished Birds in June or July?
Oh, let's do it in July.
That's what I was thinking.
Currently
Yeah,
working on I'm currently working on a video right now, and I want to I need to read a book to like do like an animation, and for everyone watching my channel, like there's so much coming. I'm excited, but
I'm so excited.
I don't know how my things take so much time, but trust me, to be worth the wait. And just like if Sochi, by the way, have you read Dune?
June, yes.
Anyway,
When I read it, I felt like, oh.
yes.
Before, I haven't seen the movie, either the first or the remake. I haven't seen them, and something tells me don't even see them till you've even read the other Herberts. At the shop I patronize for books, they have all the Dune. This number is a lot of money to spend, so I'm going to take my time.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something, I can then consider doing not do the second book in the series before.
Yeah, like so. Okay, so just to plan out more read-alongs and everything. Like, Alicia, have you read Dune?
I read it in high school, but I haven't read it in a really long time. I want to pick it back up because I didn't like it when I first read it, but I want to try it again.
I feel like you're like a more mature mind now. You really appreciate it. So
there are so many books that back in high school totally went over my head.
Yeah, like this is.
I had to read Dune and Toni Morrison.
This is my copy. So.
Oh, you have the old school copy. I love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not a first edition, is it? It's not a first edition.
But then we're talking about like just what we said earlier about getting information too early. You know, like the book might not have been. I mean, too much in high school, but for me right now, like Paul Atreides, what a character!
I don't like the casting of Paul Atreides in the new movie though. I don't know why that guy looks like he's 10 years old to me, and I like the visuals. I'm like, I know. Like that's not who I picture in my brain.
I think they were just trying to get like a very aesthetic look for like Paul and Chani, because like Chani in the main book has like red hair as well. And
yeah, that's what bothered me. I'm like, that's not. I like Zendaya, don't get me wrong, but that's not her. Like,
yeah, but Zendaya played a good role. She played the role very well. But yeah, like I'm so excited to do even more read alongs with you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Like if you like, we could do like a epic fantasy or epic sci-fi, or we can go into classics. But like I'm just like what we're doing right now is the reason is a huge reason I started my booktube channel. It's a huge reason I read. Is the reason I'm doing my epic tales, to just read a book and connect with other people who have read the book and like understand the emotional, psychological, mental, philosophical, symbolic, thematic journey that you went through and you need to talk about. So thank you guys so much for coming on my channel. And
thank you for having me.
I know that it was an honor. It was a pleasure.
And I think let's decide now, like the next one will be on Alicia's channel. Book 2,
that's perfect.
We're going to do it on Alicia's channel, and the third, final, and turnover, we'll do it on Switch's channel, where I can just, say everything that is
let it all out. Let the damn go.
Let it all out. Let it all out.
To be clear, book 3 does have 2 parts, right?
Yes, book 3 has 2 parts.
My copies are split into 2 different books, so I technically have 4 books.
Oh, okay.
But I'll read it as one, because that's how the audio.
So that case, when we get there, I'll read that as one. That's fine.
Yeah, like
but just you know the Osten Ard universe is actually extended now.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a whole sequel, like
oh my god, a new volume, and they have very nice covers. I like them. I probably look forward to getting a copy of each.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I think I messaged both of you when I finished this. I'm like, I want to read everything this man has written. Period.
100%.
Everything.
100%. It's like this is not enough, because I feel like I can get so much, not just as a reader, but also as a writer, and like just the pure enjoyment of reading like an epic fantasy story is something that I would never get tired of. They're talking about how the publishers now are no longer looking into epic fantasy. They're looking more for cozy fantasy, and cozy fantasy is dope and everything, but I don't read books to feel cozy. I read books that make me feel uncomfortable. If a book doesn't make me feel uncomfortable, it's not really memorable like that. Like I don't remember the last time, I read this book and it made me feel all nice. And so, like it doesn't work for me. And this is controversial. I'm still waiting for your response on that.
Oh, it's coming. I'm scripting it out. It's coming. I promise. It's coming.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But
I have rebuttals.
Let's go. If you want to do it over a live stream, if you want to do it, if you want to make it,
absolutely. So we can have this conversation.
Yeah,
Let's figure out.
100% down. I'm 100% down.
Yeah, I'll be in the comments.
Yeah, be in the comments. But again, thank you guys for coming and making out time for this. Thank you for joining me on the read along. Check out their channels. Alicia's channel is so interesting, very interactive with her community. And you can join my Discord as well. And she's a great person to read books with and discuss books with. Sochi is such a great guy, gave me really good advice. I keep mentioning that. And I just took it. Like, I love the guy. Check out his channel. Stay epic, everyone. And peace.
Bye.
Bye, guys.